Hey everybody, you got a car that doesn't start, takes a long time to crank, sputters, finally starts, white smoke out the exhaust pipe. um, it has no performance issues once it does start, and it throws no codes. So what do? Well, at first I thought I'll do something simple, even though after reading the blogs I find out that the glow plugs aren't necessarily needed to start the truck, start the car when it's not below freezing. But I tried it anyways. I replaced some glow plugs, glow plug relay, simple things that I could do without having to take it to a garage. Well, it didn't fix the problem. I took it to an Opel dealer, and they diagnosed the problem as dirty injectors, and so they charged me $850 to have the injectors cleaned. I took it to another garage and they replaced the starter, 450 euros, because they said it wasn't turning fast enough to create the compression it needed. I've replaced a couple of batteries. I did some vacuum checks on the vacuum lines, nothing out of the ordinary. I bought myself an Opcon to check the codes and check the values, and nothing was terribly out of amiss. Well, after the professionals couldn't figure it out, then I started replacing some other parts. I replaced the mass airflow sensor. I replaced the MAP sensor, the manifold air pressure sensor. One of the blogs even said maybe it's the camshaft sensor, so I replaced that. The turbo boost control valve, it was clicking. I replaced that, didn't seem to help. There was a hole in the intercooler pipe. I replaced the hose. The exhaust gas recirculation valve was clogged, and so I cleaned that. But nothing had any effect on the system, on the way it started. I replaced the fuel filter canister and the fuel filter, the primer bulb, because I did notice some air in the lines going to the high pressure pump. So, like I said, this has been going on for 5 years. Occasionally I'd even use some starter fluid, which I know is not good, but you got to do what you got to do. 5 years and I still hadn't been able to fix the problem. So I'm getting ready to sell the thing, and I said, well, one last check. What can it hurt? So I go onto YouTube and look, and there's this guy has a video that's called Dr. Dan's Biodiesel. And he had similar symptoms: long crank time, white smoke out the exhaust, and it sputters when it does start and finally runs fine. His approach to the problem was checking checking for any obstructions on the inlet side of the high pressure pump. I notice on mine that I have occasional air bubbles in there. Apparently that's another symptom but not a problem of it not starting. Apparently if there's an obstruction somewhere along the line, the high pressure pump is sucking so hard that it sucks air in through any loose connection you might have. So I got to looking and I said, well, the symptoms are exactly the same. It has problems starting, white smoke, and then it runs fine when it's started. So I took it down to a local garage and had them replace the sending unit. Apparently, I haven't broken this. I'm going to break this apart, I think, and see if I can find anything what's wrong with it. But apparently, as soon as they replaced this sending unit, the thing worked perfectly. There's no air bubbles in the intake side of the high pressure pump, and the car starts perfectly, first time, every time. I mean, like one turn of the motor and it starts right up. So apparently what could be happening is your high pressure pump, which has to suck the fuel from the fuel tank into the high pressure pump, if it was starved for fuel, it was obstructed. So I guess that causes a lower volume or lower pressure into the injectors, which doesn't give you a nice clean mist, and it makes the car hard to start. So I think this thing here might solve a lot of problems that are out there. None of these other garages had even thought to check for obstructions in the intake line. So this simple, well, it's simple. In my case, it was 175 euros, parts and labor. And like I said, the thing works perfect now. It's best 175 euros I ever spent. 5 years it's taken me, but finally after 5 years, I've got a truck, a van that starts perfectly every time. So I hope this helps. Maybe you can get lucky too with just with a simple replacement like this.